Okay, I wanted to do this because this is glorious. Wait till you see the title of this bill. I'm going to read the article. The main reason why I'm doing it is just because the title of this bill, I don't know how they do things in Canada, but evidently in Canada, it's let's go as crazy as possible whenever naming things. I mean, in America, we do some fun stuff like Patriot Act. It's actually an acronym that stands for Protecting America from Terrorism and a bunch of other crap. But, the Affordable Care Act, which they call the Obamacare bill, they came up with a nice name for it, the Affordable Care Act and the Protecting America and the PACT Act. And they do a good job in America selling these. But in Canada, oh boy. All right, so this is from the Daily Skeptic. Question everything, stay sane, live free. So the dailyskeptic.org. It's by David Craig. Okay, so I don't want you to see the title just yet. So I'm going to read that, and then we're going to get to the title. This is awesome. Okay. You probably know that a massive energy bill is being rushed through Parliament by our fake conservative government in the first 2 days of our parliamentarians' return from their generous summer break. So apparently in Canada, they get the same thing as we do in America, where they just take all of August off. The bill is 446 pages long and is written in dense, largely incomprehensible to any normal person legalese. Moreover, many clauses in the energy bill make reference to other pieces of previous legislation, so to fully understand the bill, you would have to read at least 1,000 pages of dense legalese gobbledygook. Given that our MPs have just passed the bill with a mere 9 voting against it, one must assume they have spent the summer holiday diligently reading through the bill and other relevant legislation in order to fully understand what they were voting for. All right, here we go. Here is the full title. The title, just the title. This is nothing but the title of the bill. This is glorious. Here we go. A bill to make provisions about energy production and security and hold on. We're going to do something. We're going to count the number of ands. We're going to go back to the beginning. A bill to make provision about energy. Silence. Okay, we're going to use my phone here. I'm going to do a little tick every time we get one. Okay, a bill to make provision about energy production and security and the regulation of the energy market, including provisions about licensing of carbon dioxide transport and storage, about commercial arrangement for industrial carbon capture and storage, and for hydrogen production, about new technology, including low carbon heat schemes and hydrogen grid trials, about the independent system operator and planner, about gas and electricity in industrial codes, about heat networks, about energy smart appliances and load control, about the energy performance of premises, about the energy performance of premises? Wow. About the resilience of the core fuel sector, about offshoring energy production, including environmental protection, licensing, and decommissioning, about the civil nuclear sector, including the civil nuclear constabulary, and for connected purposes. So, what? 3, 6, no, 11 times it said and. That's the longest run-on sentence ever. All right. As you'll see, this legislative monster covers an awful lot of areas: energy production, regulation of the energy market, CO2, transport and storage, carbon capture, hydrogen production, low carbon heat schemes, hydrogen grid trials, heat networks, smart appliances, load control, energy performance of the industrial and residential premises, offshore energy production, and the civil nuclear sector. We must be considered fortunate in Britain to have MPs who have had such a strong... Oh, this is... I thought this was Canada. Okay, so I guess this is in Britain. Okay. We must, so have strong work ethic and such a deep understanding of all these disparate issues to be able to vote for the energy bill knowing exactly what they are voting for. Life is too short for any normal person to read and truly understand this massive abomination of almost impenetrable legalese, but here are some choice tidbits which I think I understand. Okay. The bill explains what a smart meter is. Energy smart appliance means an appliance which is capable of adjusting the immediate or future flow of electricity into or out of itself or another appliance in response to a load control signal, and includes any software or other systems which enable or facilitate the adjustment to be made in response to the signal. In other words, they can turn off your electricity in the middle of a heat wave. So it seems that the conspiracy theorists were right yet again. A key purpose of smart meters is not only to measure power usage, but also to allow energy providers to control how much energy we are allowed to consume using a load control signal. Moreover, authorities will be allowed to use reasonable force to enter any homes or premises to ensure that we have the approved smart meters installed. Requiring persons to supply evidence of their compliance to enforcement authorities, conferring powers of entry, including by reasonable force. Meaning, like, if the government wants to come in, reasonable means they can kill you if you don't comply. That's what that means. All electricity and gas meters have dates by which they should be replaced. From what I have read, the bill gives representatives from energy companies the power to enter any home with police protection if required to replace traditional meters at the end of their lives with smart meters. Again, reasonable force may be used. The bill gives the government the power to force us to have energy assessments for any premises. The Secretary of State may make regulations for any of these purposes: A, enabling or requiring the energy use or energy efficiency of the premises to be assessed, certified, or publicized. We can be fined up to £15,000 or face 1 year in prison for failing to meet any future energy performance levels any government imposes. Energy performance regulations may provide for the imposition of civil penalties by enforcement authorities in relation to cases falling within subsection 1B, C, or D, but the regulations may not provide for a civil penalty that exceeds £15,000. Under the totally misleading title of Energy Savings Opportunity Schemes, authorities can force any person or company to make energy savings using the threat of criminalization for failure to comply. The Secretary of State may, by regulations, ESOS regulations, make provisions for the establishment and operation of one or more energy savings opportunity schemes. An energy savings opportunity scheme is a scheme under which obligations 30 are imposed on undertakings to which the scheme applies for one or more of the ESOS purposes. That's kind of vague. So basically they can do anything they want there. I could go on, but I imagine you get the picture by now. Yes, this energy bill creates the means by which some puffed up public sector mini dictator could gain powers to control us in ways most people would find completely unacceptable, yet our useless MPs passed this bill with a massive majority, and the Lords are set to do the same. If there really was a climate crisis caused by humans burning fossil fuels, which don't exist because those come from plants, and threatening the existence of the human race, as the BBC and others of its ilk repeatedly claim, then you might be able to argue that some of these measures in the bill could be justified. But given that changes in the atmospheric CO2 levels have little to no influence on the Earth's temperatures, that Britain only contributes less than 1% of world CO2 output, and that developing countries like India and China each increase their CO2 output by more each year than Britain's total CO2 emissions, we are creating a totalitarian regime which will intrude on people's lives, restrict people's freedoms, wreck the British economy, and immiserate our country to fix a problem in which doesn't even exist. And if it did, it would not be solved by our action anyway. And if you fear this horror will lead to an intrusive, oppressive police state under the Tories, imagine how this will be used and abused by Ed Miliband and the climate fanatics in the next Labour government. That is just awesome. You gotta love it. So I thought this was Canada, but I guess it's even worse. So yeah, that's just pathetic. We have those in America, and they try and get you to do them. They say they'll give you a bit like a 10% credit on your bill if you let them put a smart meter in your home, and they'll turn it off when it gets too hot to help save their energy load. It's like, no, you can just pay for it. And the idea that the gas that plants breathe is somehow bad for the environment. I mean, you ask a person that believes in this CO2 is bad crap, ask them how they think trees grow. Like, what is it that you believe trees are doing? Like, how does the mass of a tree get to be what it is? Why is it that wood burns? Because it's made of carbon. The trees literally pull the carbon out of the air, and that's what they use to grow themselves. Trees are made from carbon. You want carbon capture? Plant more trees. Grass produces more oxygen than trees do. It's the green part of the plants that produce the oxygen. So if you want, all the climate crisis people, do you mow your grass? Because if you do, you're contributing to global boiling. It's pathetic.